So while that Justice Department investigation continues, these cases against people who were at the Capitol go on as well. And a potentially key development in the case against several Proud Boys leaders charged with seditious conspiracy, a federal judge ruled yesterday prosecutors can use this video of then President Donald Trump during the trial.
What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
white like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud Boys. Stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left-wing.
That, of course, the infamous moment when Donald Trump made his stand back and stand by comment at the presidential debate in September of 2020. District Judge Timothy Kelly said those words showed a, quote, additional motive to advocate for Mr. Trump and engage in the charged conspiracy to keep Trump in power. Prosecutors and Proud Boys members who testified before the January 6th House committee said the comments were celebrated by the far-right group, and they were, and used as a recruited tool. 5 members of the group are on trial, accused of planning to attack the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, 2021. It's a statement of fact, because we know it from testimony that these Proud Boys and other groups took that moment on that stage with the world watching a presidential debate as a signal, get ready.
Yeah, we've seen that video hundreds, if not thousands of times. It's galling each time that he cannot condemn these groups. And we know from talking to people around him that he understood that some of these hate groups, these far-right groups, Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, you name them, that some of them were his supporters. A lot of them were his supporters. And, of course, we saw what they did, the role they played, therefore, on January 6th. So, Barbara, let me come to you here. We know the context of this, but how legally significant is it that these comments, these stand back, stand by, uttered by Trump in that debate with Joe Biden back in 2020 can now be used in these seditious conspiracy trials stemming from January 6th riot?
Well, I think it's significant in the case against the Proud Boys, because that was a signal for them that began some of their recruiting and was a unifying cause. That was part of their conspiracy. And what prosecutors have to prove is an agreement to do this attack. And so that was something that ignited the recruiting, the communication, the travel to Washington, and what they did. So very significant in that case. Whether it can be used against Donald Trump, as awful as it is, reminds me a lot of the statement that he made when he said, Russia, if you're listening, we're looking for Hillary Clinton's emails. You have to show an agreement to tie someone to a conspiracy. And so making a random comment, even if it was igniting to a particular group, probably is not enough for a conspiracy standing alone. Now, if there is evidence that others, Roger Stone and Mike Flynn, some of these people who've been seen with some of these seditious conspirators on January 6th and before, if you can tie them to part of the agreement to attack the Capitol, then that is a possible way to draw Trump and his allies into the seditious conspiracy. I think the other crime that the committee recommended was inciting insurrection, providing the inspiration, lighting the match that caused people to attack. Because the Supreme Court provides so much protection for political speech, I don't know if that gets you there. But I'll tell you the part that does possibly get you there that I thought was a brilliant move by the committee, which was to include in the recommended charge assisting insurrection with the 2:24 p.m. tweet that occurred after the attack had started, saying Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what was necessary and the United States demands the truth. That one put fuel on the fire, and I think could be a basis for assisting an insurrection against Donald Trump.
You know, Mike Allen, there's right now a big friction between the law and politics. You take a prosecution, like, for instance, against the guy who almost beat Ron DeSantis in 2018, Andrew Gillum. The feds had a years-long investigation against him and charged him ultimately. I think it took him about 6 years to charge him for after with some of the things that he did began. And I was just commenting to people in Tallahassee when he got charged. I said, "How long has this been going on?" They said the feds have been investigating him for years. That's what the FBI does. That's what the DOJ does. They take their time before they roll them up, and they make sure. There's a reason why they have such a high conviction rate, because it takes a long time. They get the job done. But you take Merrick Garland, now to the political side of it. I don't think I've ever seen a guy attacked by both sides more than this guy. The left hates him. The right hates him. He's too slow. He's too fast. Well, I mean, he is really stuck in the middle of politics. I'm curious, you're reporting on it. What's his opinion of it? And what do the rank and file members of the DOJ think about this push and pull from the left and right?
Yeah, Joe, your point, this is what the DOJ does. That is so true about federal prosecutors. Another piece of reporting in that post story that leapt out at me that bolsters your point is the fact that the January 6th grand jury has accelerated the testimony that's getting from witnesses. And here, as a country lawyer, Joe, this part will perk up your ears. They're hearing from witnesses high and low who were involved in these events. So the between the lines, the through line between the parts of this story is that they're casting an exceedingly wide net. And what we can see with each of these pieces is they're documenting forensically what is the difference between what has been said and what was done publicly and what was in people's minds. What did they know what was going on? The Post points out in the case of those voting machines, like it does what was being known and said behind the scenes. Does that show that people knew that what was being said was false? And you're right. Atop all of this, Attorney General Garland and what he's done has been what the White House has done is saying we're letting the prosecutors do their work. It's what they did when they brought in the special prosecutor on the Trump documents case. But just reminding everybody, you don't bring in a special prosecutor typically to decide nothing happened.